You're listening to Nice-ish, a podcast about reality TV and your opinions, with your hosts, Cindy and Grace.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 44 of Nice-ish. I'm Grace, and I'm here with my co-host, my mom, Cindy. How
Hi.
are you?
I'm good.
So we kind of last week decided to reformat our podcast because it was originally what we wanted the podcast to be, and we started getting into recaps, and it just wasn't really working for us. And so we kind of wanted to be able to talk about a lot of random stuff and like basically Bravo news that was happening in the week and in the episodes. So yeah, we just kind of liked that format better, and we wanted to keep going with that. We just thought it flowed better.
Yeah, it was just becoming too long. We were spending like half an hour on one show, and then when you're doing 3, it just puts it way over the time that we wanted to spend on everything. So
yeah, and a lot of stuff that was kind of pointless to the episode because of our notes were, talking about everything. We just sort of like, we don't need this.
Agreed.
So speaking of funny stories from the week, one came out about Jax Taylor from The Valley and Vanderpump Rules. And when you sent me this headline of what the article said, I about died. So People Magazine released an article about Jax that said, what Jax Taylor told women when he couldn't perform in bed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous and stupid, and it gets even more stupid as you get into it.
Well, I guess he made this stupid claim on Jax's podcast, In the Mind of a Man. That's what he named his podcast.
Could have been in his idiot mind, but go ahead.
Well, I know, In the Mind of a Liar is what it should have been.
A thief.
Thief. There were way more,
words we could substitute. Yes, I agree.
So I guess he admitted this to a sex therapist, Dr. Emily Morse, that he previously used a foolproof excuse for not being able to perform in the bedroom. And he said that he would fake an orgasm. And I'm like,
this is so stupid.
Only women can do that.
Right?
Right?
I mean, I'm sorry, but you have to ejaculate. Like, don't you?
Right.
I mean, unless I don't know. I mean, how on earth are you in the moment with a woman and you said that you've come and you didn't ejaculate? Like, we would know.
Right. That's what I don't understand. So it doesn't make sense. Obviously, women have that conversation. That happens all the time. But I don't understand how men could have that conversation, let alone this man in particular, him
Unless
in general.
The women are more stupid than him. I don't know. I don't get it. Well, I really don't. I swear I don't understand how this is possible. How a man could fake an orgasm.
Well, he said that on his podcast. He says, faking orgasms. Now, do men do this? Yes, because I have. And he also said, I don't mean to fake it, but there's just sometimes where you're just like, I'm not going to get there.
Well, I mean, is it like beer goggles or Coke goggles that you bring someone home and then you're kind of coming out of it and you're not attracted to them?
Coke goggles is what I would call it for
yeah,
sure.
Like, is that what it is? Or like, I don't get it.
Well, he did mention that recently that he had a cocaine addiction, which we all kind of knew, but okay.
Yeah, the worst kept secret.
Yeah. And since he admitted that, there were a few comments that I saw as like that could be why he couldn't get it up. So you had looked up to if cocaine affects sexual performance, and the website addictionadvocates.com said, regarding the subject of cocaine and sex drive, it's been observed that while initially cocaine may increase libido, chronic use, which is what Jax was,
years,
can lead to sexual dysfunction and decreased desire.
So it could be Coke dick. In the article, he also says, so I'll stop it early and just be like, you know what? I really, really like you. I don't think we should do this right now. And that takes the pressure off me. And they think that I'm being sweet. So that's all a lie too?
Right, so you're an
There's
ass.
nothing sincere or genuine about this guy. He is a clown. Oh my God.
He really is.
I don't know why he's even talking about this. It just makes him look like an even bigger dirtbag.
Oh, yeah, 100%. He is. It's just like between Jax, Sandoval, and Schwartz, it's like there's always like a running for who's the worst, and it always like changes for me. And he's first right now. So yeah, I felt like this completely had to be in our podcast that we talked about this week.
He's so stupid.
So in other Bravo news this week, before we get into the shows, I have to mention this video that went viral of Ashley Darby.
Oh, God.
You already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
She somehow got picked for the tribute to legendary singer Roberta Flack.
Yeah.
On the local Fox 5 DC News. Mm-hmm. And she was asked to do a tribute by singing Killing Me Softly.
Which is probably Roberta Flack's #1 hit.
I would think so.
Or at least the most recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to lead with the question, what did you think?
It was not recognizable.
Did it kill you softly?
Oh, it was so bad. She was just, it was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, she sounded terrible. Mm-hmm. She looked beautiful, but...
That's true. We can give her that. Well, points for beauty.
Right.
Yeah, no, when you showed me that clip, I was like, why? I just couldn't figure out who asked her to do it.
Right.
Like, and not even an offense. I'm not even trying to make that like a snarky comment either. I'm not really sure why she was the one who was asked to do a tribute for Roberta Flack.
Because she can't sing.
Right. No. And it's not even like, I mean, I know that we recognize all these housewives and stuff, but it's not like she's super recognizable. I guess maybe for the local news
maybe in
cheers.
DC. Yeah. I don't know. It just, for something that's a tribute, it's just kind of embarrassing.
Well, it's just like the background singers are in key and in pitch, and you can hear that, and you're not. So it's like, we should have the background singers.
It makes her sound worse.
It does. I actually feel like they sound engineers should have pulled a, like Yoko Ono thing going on here, because they should have just cut her mic and just had the background sing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're referring to this video from the 70s where Chuck Berry and John Lennon were singing together. And he kind of always insisted, John Lennon, that Yoko be part of his shows.
Always.
So she's in the background, kind of half yodeling, half moaning. It was terrible. And she was awful.
Right. It didn't go with the song either.
Halfway through, they cut her mic.
Just cut it.
So you just couldn't hear anymore, which thank God.
I know.
But yeah, they should have pulled a Yoko.
just cut the mic. Like, guys, this isn't working. We got to cut it.
Yeah, it was terrible. You know what? I have a question for you.
Okay.
We have a Spotify account and we make our own playlists. Mm-hmm. Do you have any Housewives songs on your playlist or on any playlist?
Yes.
Ooh, who?
I have one.
Oh, just one? Okay.
And it will come as no surprise to you what it is, because Roni is our favorite franchise ever.
Okay.
And so it is Countess Luann, Money Can't Buy You Class. I have that on a playlist for when me and my best friend were driving in the car. We're going to be going to Disney here soon, and it's going to be our pump up playlist here. So get ready for the car, and that's on it.
We actually had it on a playlist when we were going to see her. We were driving to Albany, and I remember we saw a sign for Albany coming up, and I'm like, Grace, turn it up. And you filmed us going under the sign to Albany with her, Countess Luann. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Countess speaking.
We have arrived. Yeah, Chic C'est La Vie is great too. But
yes, that's good too. I'm trying to think. I don't have really any legit ones. I mean, I don't even have like Kim Zolciak's. What's hers?
Tardy for the party.
Tardy for the party. Like, because
No.
you know, it's one thing if you heard it out somewhere that you'd like jump to it and sing along, but I would never put it on a playlist.
No, I mean, I have songs on my playlist that I know that Candy has like either co-written or written. Like, you know,
Well, she's
no scrubs.
legit.
Yeah,
it's
she
hard
is.
to say her
She's
as a
in the
housewife.
Exactly.
Right, because the housewives are all terrible.
Yes, and Candy's
she's
wonderful.
yes.
So, yes.
At one point, I had the Melissa Gorga one.
Yeah, when that came out, that was like in the iTunes days where you had to only buy music off of iTunes.
And it was, what was it called?
Wow, what a fan.
I know. Shit.
On
'cause
display.
It's on display. Because I don't have it anymore. I
Right.
think I had it briefly, and then I'm like, ugh, they're all trash. But
I mean, I actually like Candace's song, Drive Back.
I do too.
That I actually think is a worthy song.
I would agree. I like that too.
Yeah, so.
But I do not have anybody else. I mean, if I did, it would be like a joke playlist where we listened and we just kind of sang along and mocked them. Mm-hmm. But yes, the Countess Luann one we actually sing.
It's a banger.
And I gotta say, someone else said to me, what's the difference between you all mocking Ashley Darby for someone who can't sing, but then you love Countess Luann and she doesn't get any shit? And I thought, whoa, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
We don't love Countess Luann or go to her shows to hear her singing.
No, as a matter of fact, I go in spite of that.
Exactly. Her show is so fun because it's really well put together. Mm-hmm. I mean, they show all these old clips from Roni, so everybody just starts laughing. People can quote stuff word for word. Mm-hmm. She does a Q&A and answers questions. It's really a fun show. So we go, like you said, in spite of her singing. In fact, we've both agreed that she's gotten worse since she started.
It's all those cigs she's smoking now. It's like,
but it doesn't matter because we go for the fun.
100%. Yes, that's exactly why you're going.
Yes,
it's for an all-around experience.
Exactly.
The reason why Ashley wants to sing is because she thinks she can, and that's delusion.
And she's not good. She's just as bad as Luann.
Right. Luann just has stage presence and a show and is fun and has a whole layer to that.
And she talks shit about cast members. And
all the time.
The last show she was talking about Bethany. And when we went, I asked her specifically about Carol, and she talked mad shit about Carol.
Yeah.
So she's not afraid to do that. So that's why it's fun. Mm-hmm. It's not that she's this great singer. She's not Adele.
No, not at all. Next, we're going to talk about Summer House, and there are two things that we'll talk about. But first, I just want to mention that we did not miss Beverly Hills, and we did watch it this week. It's just that there was not really much going on in this first part. I mean, you barely posted about it.
Actually, the only thing I posted about was something we covered last week, which was the talk between Sutton and Dorit and their separation and all this stuff, because it was the sneak peek. But I agree, it was, for a reunion, pretty uneventful. Mm-hmm. And I really can't think of anything to talk about with it. So we're going to skip it.
Exactly. So we're just going to skip it and move on to Summer House. So in this episode, we kind of see the fallout of Jesse's toe sucking.
Yeah.
Which was that Jesse decides to make things exclusive with Lexi. Mm-hmm. Then he tells Lexi about flirting rumors with Sierra and does not tell her about the toe sucking at all, which I'm like, dude, you're so stupid for doing that.
So stupid. And that a lot of time what somebody wants to do when they want you to believe them, they will tell you a truth and make it look like, oh, you're coming forward with everything, but they omit something and you think they're trustful.
Right.
Trustful? Trustworthy. Trusting. All those things that Jesse is not.
So later in the episode 2, Imrul tells Bailey about this. Bailey, remember her? She pops back up here. And Bailey tells all of the women at their kickball tournament that they have at the very end. So you had posted, Jessie love bombing Lexi, so she thinks he's always thinking of her, asks her to be exclusive, but fails to mention the toe sucking. Mm-hmm. And you had gotten a response back from @Megan_Sletcha, who said, always texts or calls her right after either doing something or something being said that would make her mad to cover his ass.
Exactly. That's what he does. He love bombs her constantly. I think she said that he texted her 50 times one day. And it's like, okay, he can't be doing anything because he's always texting me and always thinking of me. And that's not the case.
Right. And he wants to tell me what he's doing.
Yeah.
So how could he possibly be either not doing what he says or doing something else?
Right.
So it's just, this is going to go poorly the rest of the season.
Well, if he didn't try to make this so exclusive so quickly, he wouldn't be in this mess.
Right.
But he jumped on her day one, and it's like now there's no place else to go but exclusive, you know?
Right. So that was the first thing that we were going to talk about. And then the second thing is at Carl's party.
Oh, God.
To announce his new business venture, Soft Bar. So Gabby ends up talking to Lil, who's the lemur girl.
Oh my God, lemur girl. That's how she's known.
I know.
Lemur girl.
Because you said that one stupid ass comment that is everywhere now.
Yeah.
So Gabby was talking to her about when she and Carl kind of started talking, and Gabby thought it was over the summer when Carl and Lindsay were still together. And Lindsay had mentioned something about the fact that she thought she saw Carl either responding to a DM or saw him texting like a phone number.
Right. So we don't know if it's Lil at this point or not. It could be somebody else, but it kind of set off all these warning bells in Lindsay.
Right. So you were kind of telling me too that there were a lot of comments online about, should Lindsay be upset? Is this even worth it to be upset and all that? And
why does she care?
Right, exactly. Why does she care? And you had posted, I'll answer the question. Lindsay cares what Carl was doing with a chick because they were still a couple. She was planning on marrying him, and he's trying to make her the problem and like he's brokenhearted.
Right.
Totally agree that that's the problem. So there were some comments saying like that Lindsay should just move on, but there you got this reply back from Heather @Umpabo1, who said, well, I agree with you that she should let it go for her own sake. So should he. He's up on that screen each week making himself look like a victim. He ended the relationship. She may be moving on, but she's allowed to be hurt by lies and gaslighting. And that's what he's been doing all year.
I completely co-sign all that. There are mixed feelings on Lindsay, and I think I might come across like this Lindsay lover or her stan or something. I'm actually not. I think Lindsay had said some pretty horrible things to Carl too.
Yeah.
But in this case, we were told that Carl was talking to someone else while they were still together.
Right.
And maybe he was. It looks like Lil came out on her Instagram and posted that the first time she communicated with Carl was in October.
Okay.
So I think the last day of September was when they broke up. I think that's when it came out on People magazine or something. So it was like a month or two. And so maybe he wasn't talking to someone else, but he is still doing this whole victim thing and making it seem like she moved on fast when he didn't.
Right.
And he moved on in October.
That's the thing, too, is that he's making it seem like Lindsay moved on so fast and got pregnant, but you were already talking to somebody in October. Your wedding was supposed to literally be either in September or October.
And she got pregnant in March.
Right, exactly. They're making it seem like it was like last year or whatever. It really wasn't. There was more time in between there than you think.
So that's my biggest issue. Maybe he wasn't cheating
exactly
or whatever, but he moved on just as fast. So just stop with the poor me shit because, you know, I'm just not buying it. I don't know. Right. I don't like Carl. I just don't.
No, I don't either. And I don't like it because he's trying to come off as a victim when he has lied about many things.
Yeah.
Trying to cover his ass. Yeah. So, God, these men at Bravo, I swear.
The men on Summer House, though.
Yeah.
Like, all of them.
What's your problem, people?
We're lucky that we don't cover Southern Charm, or we would be like total bitches. Because I hear they're like just as bad.
Oh God, I can't take it. God, can we find a decent human man?
Bring back Andrea.
I know. Yeah.
I don't even care that he's like married now. He was just the greatest.
Well, if Kyle and Amanda get to stay and they're married, then that's fine.
He didn't want to, and he was smart to leave.
Yeah, he was.
He's protecting himself and his relationship.
That's why we want him back, because he's a smart guy.
I know, right? There's got to be other people. God.
Nobody smart is signing up for the show, though.
No, it's true. You have to be thirsty.
Yeah.
You have to want it, and they all do, so we can bitch about him.
Fine by me. Let's get into this week's episode of Atlanta, which was the one that we were kind of waiting all season for.
Yes.
And it's the big one where we find out that Kenya has been pulled from the cast because of the photos of Brit that she showed at her Kenya Moore hair care spa.
Yes. I mean, we knew all about this because Kenya got fired, and we only really had leaks to go on. So based off the leaks and Brit saying she did nothing wrong and she didn't threaten her and there was no gun mention and all this stuff, it kind of was like, okay, well, Kenya, did something horrible unprovoked.
Right.
Was that the case?
No, it was not. We saw in last week's episode that Brit and Kenya kind of got into a little bit of a spat that seemed very one-sided to me. It just really seemed like Brit had a problem with Kenya, and anything that Kenya did would bother her. I felt like Brit was poking at Kenya completely, and I don't think Kenya really even quite gave Brit the time of day, or didn't want to acknowledge her even. She's like, okay, fine, I'll go acknowledge you then. You keep coming for me.
And even Portia was like, look, you're going back from your first meeting with the ring and her asking you about the ring. That was fine. Nobody saw anything wrong with that. So going off that, you didn't either.
No, I
didn't even know what it meant. I didn't quite know what she was getting at, but you're like, there's nothing there. You're looking for something that's not there. And that's clearly how the other women felt too. Yes. So Brit was kind of having some imaginary feud with Kenya, and Kenya was not aware.
100%. So this whole fight kind of started with that, and then Brit decided to threaten Kenya basically with a pistol and weapons and stuff like that twice. She did it twice.
Yes.
In last week's episode. And all the women were just like, whoa, what do you do? Like, relax a little bit, because you're going from like 0 to 60 here. And I didn't actually know if Kenya did hear it, and she did. I wondered. She did. So that was all last week's episode. We get to this week's, and Kenya's like, this is Kenya's revenge, basically.
It really was. Like, you could see her demeanor change when Brit entered the building.
Yes.
I mean, she was not ready for an apology, not ready for flowers, wanted no part of it. And it was a huge mistake, in my opinion, on production's part to have this happen.
Yes, I agree 100% with what you said. And you actually posted this as well, saying, this whole thing was handled so poorly by production. Brit mentioned the pistol twice in regards to Kenya. At minimum, there should have been a major warning about it. Kenya doesn't know her to give her the benefit of the doubt. It was like 3 weeks in to filming.
Yeah, she didn't know her at all.
No.
She met her, probably you could count on one hand the number of times that she met Brit, and the woman threatens her, and Kenya's not supposed to be scared?
I completely agree with that. And I think that, and we saw in this episode too, Brit mentioned like another violent thing again towards somebody when she was talking to Shamia and Angela. And even Shamia and Angela called it out, and they're like, you just did it again.
Yeah.
So that to me means that that's your go-to.
Yes.
That is your go-to when you are trying to intimidate somebody or scare someone and you're fighting with them, and that's what you're going to use.
Yes, it's going to be physical.
Yes.
And that's not cool, and that's not what we want.
So you had gotten a response back at L Work Your Gifts, who said, This could have gone another way, and they chose to let chaos erupt, referring to production.
Absolutely. I agree. I think when the first threat happened from Brit, a meeting should have happened. I think production should have taken both of them, sat them down, and said, first of all, you cannot threaten or even mention a gun or a weapon in the same sentence as another cast member. We have a zero tolerance for that.
Yeah.
And Kenya doesn't feel safe, and we understand why. So this is going to be taken seriously, and either they should have put her on pause then, or they said, one strike, you're out. Or is it two strikes? Because she had one strike because she did it. I don't know. But it can't happen again. If this happens again, you're gone. And then Kenya would have felt heard.
That's what I was actually going to make the point about, too, is that I feel like production really didn't look out for Kenya in this instance, because she's been on for I don't know how long. Protect the people that are on. I don't know Brit. We've seen 3 episodes. I don't care if she goes.
Right.
I know nothing about it. I'm not invested in her, and I don't care. But I am invested in Kenya.
Right.
We know Kenya. So if it came down to this newbie who had to go versus Kenya, you should have just let her go immediately.
Right.
And been like, we could find somebody else. Phaedra ends up coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been an easy swap, to swap out Brit for Phaedra. That would have been so easy.
I agree. And another point, Rick Zampain, who we love, had a tweet of his own that said, the fact of the matter is, at any other job, Brit would have been fired before Kenya had the opportunity or need to retaliate. If I went to my employer and said, this woman has threatened me with a pistol twice and mentioned a whip, and I am fearful.
Yeah. And we have it on tape.
Right? She would have been gone.
Right.
So that's a point too. They just dropped the ball. They failed. They actually failed both of the women.
I would agree.
Because Kenya should have been looked out for, and Brit should have been given a warning. And also, you're coming off terrible.
Yeah.
You need to turn this around too, because fans won't appreciate it.
Agreed.
So in my opinion, both women were failed.
It's like they don't know. It's like production doesn't know where the line is until it gets so far gone like this, and then they're like, okay, well now we have to take action.
Right.
What I will also say too, though, is that we've been talking a lot about how we're not a fan of what Brit said and did to Kenya, but we need to also
address what Kenya did.
Correct. And that was absolutely terrible. I don't know in what part of her brain thought this was a smart idea.
I don't know either. And I don't know if she came out after this and said she was sorry or not. I don't even know. But it just, the whole event to celebrate all her hard work for her new salon was overshadowed completely by her talking about Brit nonstop. It was just a shame because she worked so hard for that. She clearly was not able to get past this.
No, she wasn't. And I'm not really sure why Brit didn't just send Kenya a text message first before she talked to everybody else. I'm not sure why production didn't force something, a meeting here, and say, look, Kenya doesn't have to take your apology, but you're going to sit down and you're going to apologize to her on camera so we have something here.
All the women knew it, though. All of them. Portia, Cynthia, all of them said, she may throw you out. She's not ready for this.
I know.
As soon as she walked in and Portia saw her, she thought,
that was insane.
Oh, she's not going to hear it. She's not going to take it. She's not going to receive it. She's not going to accept it. Not only
that did Portia say, but she also said there's going to be a retaliation here.
Yeah. She called that, didn't she? She just didn't know it'd be this bad.
No. And all the women, all the women sitting there looking at Kenya like, what are you doing? Take take those looks in.
Yeah.
You know, as Kenya, to be like, to keep going after, like, you could have stopped after the second slide. The last one was the one that had that horrible
Right.
photo on it. You should have looked at all the other women and thought, this isn't doing it. This isn't having the reception that I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
And you could have stopped it there and you would have been fine.
The thing is, too, is I don't know where she would have gotten such a personal photo from. However, any woman there that has been in a romantic relationship would have done something like Brit. So whether it's a boyfriend, a spouse, whatever.
A rando.
Could have been a one-nighter. But the thing is that's so private.
Well, I thought I heard Kenya mention that I heard the words private investigator get brought up. So I don't know if she hired one and that's how they found the
I don't
photo.
know how they would have gotten that from who. Because that's not, I mean, the woman didn't do porn.
No.
She may have posed nude. I don't know if she posed nude or not. I have no idea.
Right.
But that's not something you pose for.
No.
So those were private. I just wish she hadn't. And I don't know if she wishes that.
Right.
Do we know if she ever apologized?
I don't know. I would like to hope that she did, but I don't know if she did.
I don't know either. Yeah, it was awful.
So, yeah, it was just a really sad way to see Kenya go out.
Yeah, it was. And it didn't have to.
It didn't have
That's,
to.
again, production failed Kenya.
Yeah.
They really didn't have her back because this didn't need to happen.
Which leads me into a whole nother problem about production and them kind of telling these women to do all these things. They get to that point and then they're like, well, you went a little too far this time, so we're going to cut you.
I think, like, throwing Brandy's name out there.
Yeah.
She's someone who, look, Brandy makes her own choices. When she says they, just gave me so much alcohol, I couldn't, control myself. That's a cop-out and that's an excuse.
100%.
Kyle doesn't drink anymore. Candy has never drank on camera. Jill Zarin, my nemesis, doesn't drink. So they may encourage drinking, but they do not force drinking.
No.
So you don't have to. And Brandy is someone who can't control her alcohol. So I understand her feeling a little bit left out to dry.
Yeah.
But everybody's actions are their own. And,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So just a sad.
Yes. Sad way to go out.
So.
And I hope we'll see Kenya again. I've never been a huge Kenya fan, but I know that she's important to the franchise.
Right.
Because we did do a rewatch at one point, and I honestly felt the same about Kenya then than I do now, which was she can be nasty and mean.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But I just think she's an important part of the franchise.
Well, let me ask you this question then, because we know that Kenya gets replaced by Phaedra. Do you feel like there's really any difference here? Because we know what Phaedra did to Candy all those years ago, and we know what Kenya did here. Do you feel like bringing Phaedra back is just kind of like, oh, really? We're going to get rid of Kenya and we're going to ignore that?
That's not fair.
Sorry, I sprung it on you. I just thought of it right now.
I mean, there are people that will never forgive Phaedra, who are like, what you said about another castmate was so disgusting.
Yeah.
And I mean, allegedly, Phaedra was fed that information from a producer and they kind of wanted it brought up. That's how low some of these people can go. They want a show.
Right. Well, that brings me back to my other point is that they kind of, I feel like, want you to do all these things and then hang you out to dry hereafter.
So I don't know.
And I like Phaedra. That's the thing.
Too.
I like her personality. I gravitate towards her because I like her. But I know what happened in the past. It was terrible. So I just don't know how we're swapping the two. Like how that we're like, we're going to make a stand as Bravo here, and we're going to get rid of Kenya, but we're going to replace her with Phaedra.
Right. And Candy never forgave her.
No, she did not.
So I don't know if they were biding their time waiting for Candy to leave because Phaedra was so successful on the Traders and on Girls Trip that they're like, okay, this is our chance to bring her back. Candy's gone. But I would agree. There's so many inconsistencies that, you know, there's no reason to bring back one and get rid of one when they're like equally as bad. But can people be forgiven? Can people be sorry and, you know, I'm human. I fucked up. I'm sorry I did it and get a second chance? I don't know. Yeah. There's some I say yes and other like Jen Shah is a flat, huge no for me.
Yeah, I mean that we're talking about prison time there though. So I think anybody that served prison time should be considered a little bit, you know.
And it wasn't just castmates. It was the public and the elderly. There's some things that are just too shitty.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This is a conversation that could last for a while. So
would you like it to last for longer?
I would not.
Okay, we'll cut it off here then.
Thanks for listening to episode 44 of Nice-ish. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, or Blue Sky at Nice-ish Podcast or Love Cindy C. You can listen to Nice-ish wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Look for new episodes every Monday. Thank you for listening and have a nice-ish day.